momento y espero que disfruten del juego. Y una cosa más, viva México, güey.
Wow.
Hola, Mexico.
Blake's the best.
How do you follow that up? Come on, man.
Luka's obviously from Slovenia, but played in La Liga starting at age 16. And using the Vosotros form right off the bat there, which isn't even taught in American schools typically, that is great. Luka's the best. I'm so proud of my adult Slovenian son. I raised him so well. I'm
there
so
you go, man.
I am. I'm overflowing with pride at seeing what he's doing.
For someone that has taken Rosetta Stone 3 times and is married to a Panamanian woman, I'm jealous. I'm still struggling to figure it all out. Still struggling.
How close to fluent are you?
Not very close.
Not very close.
I'm close to what Blake Griffin is.
At this point, what can't Luka do?
Man,
this guy, I thought he was talking reckless last year when he said scoring in the NBA is easier than scoring when he was playing in Europe.
He's right.
He's unbelievable.
He might be right.
He's so great. So great.
All right, let's get back to Thursday Night Football. Jets down in Baltimore to face the Ravens. Baltimore's opening drive, 8th play. Lamar breaking Michael Vick's single-season rushing record with a 5-yard run. It was the beginning of an incredible night for the MVP frontrunner. Tossed 5 touchdowns, accounted for 298 yards. Ravens get the win, and in so doing, they clinch the AFC North for the 2nd straight season. After the game, Aaron Andrews let Mark Ingram interview Lamar. Take a listen.
Freaky L, a.k.a. Action Jackson, a.k.a. Era A Apparel. Listen, my dog. Hey, Juno, hit him. Hey, crank. All right, L. Man, you broke Mike Vick's rushing record, man. You the AFC North champions for the 2nd year in a row. How I feel, man? Tell me how I feel, L Freaky.
It feel good, but you know we got a lot of season left to play, and we got 2 more banners to hang up.
So you're telling me the story unwritten?
Unwritten right now.
Book unfinished.
Right.
Congratulations, brother, on breaking Mike's Vick record and being the GOAT, the MVP that you are.
First of all, the best part of that was that he kept correcting Mark. You're the AFC North. No, we are. Right. We. It's important to him. And that's who Lamar is. And I think that's why people are really kind of jumping on board. But, Nick, why do you think so many people, now that you see how successful he is, why do you think so many people missed on Lamar when he was coming out of school?
It's a complicated question, but it's also a simple question. There's a lot of factors, but it's also in part because people didn't want to believe what their eyes were telling them. I mean, this is a guy who in his final 2 years at Louisville threw for over 7,000 yards and over 55 touchdowns in a pro-style offense. Bobby Petrino runs one of the more, it's not the Saban offense, but it's a more pro-style offense than certainly what was run at Oregon under Chip Kelly and what a lot of the other offenses we see in college football. And it's because the narrative got away from Lamar, and he did not care to correct it. Lamar didn't do a lot of interviews. Lamar was not out in front of it. He wanted to let his play speak for itself. And so people either that had an agenda or a bias or just they just didn't want this to succeed in the NFL. We heard so much about can't get in contact with him. His mom's his agent. What does the average fan know what Super 8 means to Lamar and his family? My guess is no. That would have been a nice story to write. His Super 8 is the 8 values his mother has espoused to him since early age. God, prayer, faith, family, education, sacrifice, character, discipline. Even had it emblazoned on some I don't want to say uniforms, but some outfits they wore in the draft process. Does the average fan know that when Lamar Jackson was 8 years old, his dad died in a car crash and his grandmother died on the same day? And from that moment, it was him and his mom, and she took this type of role in his life, which is probably one of the reasons why he trusts his mom to be his agent, to be his manager, which he was knocked for, in addition to what I thought was the really unfair stuff of, can he communicate the play in the huddle? Are people going to be able to understand him as if English is not his first language? And so there's a lot of factors to it. And what we saw was a team with arguably the greatest general manager ever. Ozzie Newsome, I don't know that he is, but he's in the argument.
He's in the conversation.
He saw something from Lamar that the rest of the league did not want to see or was blinded to. When the rest of draft experts were trying to promote and always try to promote a Josh Allen or a Mitch Trubisky, saying, don't believe the tape, they're better than that. People were saying with Lamar, don't believe the tape, he's actually playing the wrong position. And now folks are running from it. Folks are pretending, no, that was just Bill Polian. It was not just Bill Polian. It was a whole lot of people on shows similar to this saying, nah, you know, maybe in 4 years he could be a suitable NFL quarterback. And now the whole league has to adjust to him. And fortunately, the next Lamar Jackson-esque player probably won't have to go through quite as much.
There was a theory in the league that the only way you can be successful at the quarterback position is to be 6'4", 240, stand in the pocket, and deliver the ball down the field. That was a theory. And within that theory, the thought was, we'll have this guy for 10 years, 10 to 15 years. He's our franchise guy.
Sean Elway still subscribes to that.
Some teams still do. But they missed on the fact, and we've seen it this year with Baltimore, the advantage that you may have if you have an athletic quarterback, a guy that can run the football, a guy that can be the most dangerous and most productive guy on the field with the ball in his hands the most times in the game. They missed on that fact. The truth is that we may not get 10 years out of Lamar playing the way that he's playing now. It may be only 6, but it may be 6 of the most dominant years that we've seen from the quarterback position, being able to run, being able to throw. And when I watched Lamar develop between a guy from last year that couldn't throw a spiral at times to a guy that now is hitting wide open receivers down the field, tight ends down the field, understanding defenses, watching him say, you know what, I know what coverage this is. I know exactly when I need to throw the football every single play. Fitting the ball in tight windows yesterday, that's some of the biggest jumps from a rookie year to your second year that we've seen in any quarterback. And, of course, he's dominating with his athletic ability. We saw that in college. I've been completely impressed with Lamar. But the thought process as guys in the NFL, talent evaluators has to change. The other thought process that has to change is that, you know what, sometimes black quarterbacks, they can be just as good as other quarterbacks in the NFL. That was a theory that wasn't...
And just as smart.
Just as smart as well, of course. And you know, just as productive, can win games and get it done, and can lead football teams. That has to be known as well, and Lamar has done a great job of it and been a great example of it.
Well, I think your last point is probably your best point in terms of being able to be a leader of men. The quarterback position by nature is a leadership position, and you're just wondering what it would look like with a player like Lamar Jackson. And so when you don't have a guy that fits conventional norms or a conventional style, then the NFL's tendency is to be dismissive of his ability, especially at the lower levels of sport. Nick, you talked about the passing yards at Louisville, and NFL talent evaluators would say, well, he's throwing in windows in college, throwing in windows in the National Football League are different. And that's true. But you're also talking about a guy that has the opportunity to fully dedicate himself to his craft as opposed to worrying about being a student athlete. So Lamar Jackson, there was nothing that we saw at the lower ranks, whether it was high school or college, that would suggest that he wasn't serious about playing the quarterback position. Even up until the combine when he said, I'm not running the 40-yard dash.
And he got criticized for that,
He got criticized for that, too. But he wanted to have his tape, his play on the field, speak for himself. And that's the situation where the Baltimore Ravens benefited of it, because you have an experienced GM that trusts what he saw, and then they built an offense around him with offensive coordinator Greg Roman. So this was a commitment by the Ravens organization in a couple of different ways, and now they're paying the dividends from that.
And that could also be why some teams were a little scared, because they were going to have to revamp an offense to build around him. You were going to have to change a little bit of the offense, which is what Greg Roman did, to make it work for him, and it worked perfectly for Lamar in that Baltimore setting. Would he be as successful in other, offenses? Maybe not.
But by the way, one of the great Don Draper lines, that's what the money's for. That's what the coaches are for. Is to take the talent and put it in the best position to succeed. The starting quarterback in Baltimore prior to Lamar Jackson was exactly the type that you talked about. 6'5", 235, statue in the pocket. And in a week, they changed it because they have competent coaches and they are not trying to square peg round hole it.
And then they go 6-1 after starting out 4-5?
Exactly right. They went 6-1 before the playoff game. And by the way, Lamar is going to, at some point, struggle. It might be in this year's playoffs. It might be next season. Patrick Mahomes went from 50 touchdowns to this year might not have 30, got hurt. And Mahomes, by the way, this year, nobody is saying, well, at least I haven't heard it, Patrick Mahomes not as good as we all thought. I think people still recognize this is one of, if not the very best quarterback in football. The folks right now who are the quietest about Lamar, because they were dead wrong, are waiting in the weeds for when these struggles come, for the ha-ha, I told you so moment, for the time, because he took a big shot last night on the record-breaking run,
that's right.
on the 5-yard run, when he gets hurt, as if pocket quarterbacks don't get hurt.
Right.
As if Carson Wentz didn't have a near MVP in year 2 and hasn't yet reclaimed
Well, he hurt his
that
quad
status.
in the pocket. It's not like he hurt that quad originally.
Absolutely, and Cam's big injuries came in the pocket. Go ahead, Jenna, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, one of the biggest things that we also, and you pointed it out, Janet, I think it's true. Offensive coordinators are old school guys. Coaches, I mean, many around the NFL, and we kind of seen a revolution of younger coaches these last couple of years that have the ability to come up with different plays and different philosophies. Greg Roman and that staff has done a great job of just getting Lamar activated and doing what he does best, getting the best athlete on the field with the ball. Just do whatever you do best. Do that one thing. Old school coaches aren't willing to change, and that square peg and a round hole, those types of things, those are big-time things in the NFL. It's been a copycat league. We've seen what's happening in college now. A lot of these quarterbacks that have looked up to Lamar that can do the same thing will now get that same opportunity, because it's an advantage when you have only 4 days to be able to prepare for a guy that can do that.
Oh, 100%. It's next to impossible. And as a defender in the National Football League, I can tell you, when you're going up against this style of offense and a quarterback that can lead the running game, having a short week it's next to impossible to be effective in terms of limiting what they do. The Jets, the #1 run defense in the National Football League, got rung up for over 200 yards on the ground. But as far as Lamar Jackson goes, B-Dub, you said something. The coaches are resistant to going away from conventional norms, conventional prototypes. And Bill Parcells told me, he said, unless you remind me of a guy I've had success with, then I'm not going to draft you. I don't want you to be a part of my team. It takes somebody that's creative and forward-thinking in order to move off of that. And now the Ravens are getting the return on the investment that they made a couple of years ago, taking Lamar Jackson with that last pick in the first round.
And to your point, Ozzie Newsome was willing to